All right, today we're going to do a video on how to install the Dalton Clutch Kit for the 24 RZR XP 1000. Before we get started, Hunterworks belt, best on the planet. This particular model, our belt literally outshines the OEM in every manner. Grabs better, lower cruising RPM, the correct shift phase RPM, the whole 9 yards. So check the video out. Hopefully I can get Hunter to put an end card up, see why Hunterworks belt's better than the OEM, okay? So your instructions that come with it are going to have a setup sheet in here. It would behoove you to read these instructions from front to back. Your torque values are in here. Little notes is in here that I may leave out just because this is a visual. So make sure you check these out. And again, the setups are in here to how to set it up for your situation. The tools you'll need, special tools, are going to be a clutch puller and a spring compressor. Hopefully you purchase those here at Hunterworks. Ours is about as good as you can buy, and they're made in America. That's a big thing. Okay, so to speed this video up, I have taken some of the screws out of the cover already. You do not necessarily have to use a compressor on this one, but I find that it holds things in place, etc. And then when you're going back together, it makes it easy. The compressor is really needed for the secondary. So, like I said, I've kind of sped this up. You take a 10 millimeter, take these out. Okay. Take the screws out. Like I said, I've taken my others out. Take your cover off. Very important thing here. They call this a limiting washer. Make sure that you notice there's a little step in it. It goes down towards a spring. Take this stock spring out. All right, I have taken the liberty of already putting 2 of my Dalton weights in. It leaves the last. On the instructions that tell you what set screws to use, there's black. We'll call this the tip. Thank gosh we got away from rivets on this kit, but I used, I believe it was a 1/4 inch black. Follow your instructions, and it would behoove you to wait until this weight is inside the clutch to put your set screws that go in the passage in, because you have to hold it and you're screwing it. It's just easier to do it in after the fact. Ask me how I know. Okay, mine's already pre-done. All right, so you're going to take the pivot pins out, pivot bolts, whatever you'd like to call it. I will take it out in front of the camera, but I will not put it back because I just can't do it. It takes a, actually I use a 10 millimeter and you shouldn't have. It's a 3/8 and a thin wall. Okay, and take your pivot pin out and reach in and get your flyweight. Now, I'm going to turn it around because it's much easier. Now, another thing is, go to the overhead view, you'll see more material cut out over on this side for the nut than the head. So that has to go in one way. Now, holding this weight in place while you put that pivot pin can be a little tough, but you'll want to hold the weight up inside. You don't want to let it rest on its tip because it can go down in the clutch and then it'll be locked in place and that won't be good. Okay, so I got my pivot in, my flyweight pivots, and I'll put my nut back on. These are a locking nut. If you would like, you could certainly put some blue Loctite on. I use a proper socket for putting it on. And again, I apologize. You can't see back here. It's not that hard. If I didn't tell you, that is a 1/8 inch. Okay, then you're going to take the spring that comes in the kit, and it's time to put parts back together. Again, make sure you put this in here. This is they call it a speed limiting washer. Does not mean you should remove it to go faster, because then you'll get into belt over travel issues in a secondary and start blowing belts. If I had a precision way to grind this, I might take a little off and see how far we could go. So anyway, put your spacer on. Then you're going to put your cover back on. Now, one thing I didn't tell you in the first part, so I hope you aren't doing this step by step. It doesn't actually matter, it's just a good practice, is mark your cover with a black mark, and there's going to be an X on the spider, and line it back up. Since they do not mark it, it is probably not critical. And I am once again going to use our compressor. This particular clutch, not 100% necessary, just necessary on the secondary. I'm going to compress it a little bit where it easily gets up here. And I am going to line it up, put my screws back in. While I'm screwing screws in, I'm going to tell you there is a torque value for these screws. Let your conscience be your guide. I don't even know what it is because I don't do it, because I personally opinion it's a bad idea. I use my 1/4 inch impact and know where to quit. 20 years of doing this, you wouldn't believe how many people have called me that's busted these screws, torquing them, and I don't recall anybody ever busting them with a ratchet. If they did, they didn't call me and tell me. So, you see I went around just double checking a little finger control. Sometimes these little plastic slides will come out. Be a good idea to pay attention how those work while you're doing this. If it depends on how old this clutch is and when this is. I forget this is a brand new model, nobody's wore one out. Check your slide pieces out, make sure they are not broke. Always check your rollers. Anytime you have a clutch, not separated but with spring out, and you're doing anything, you want to check those rollers up underneath that spider while it's dropped down, okay? So it is done. It would behoove you at this point, depending on miles and so forth, is to take some brake clean, and I use a green Scotch-Brite pad when I got a lot of rubber built up in it. Mine does not, because it is a pretty brand new vehicle. But take a clean rag and wipe the belt surface down before it goes back in, because you probably put your fingers on it, etc. Anything you might have done, you want to get it off and have no residue, and don't touch that part again, okay? Now we're going to move on to the secondary. Your secondary actually comes off in 2 pieces. When you take your little bolt out, your alignment shims will be here. Don't lose them. Maybe 1, 3, 6, whatever. Don't lose them. We're going to set this half off. We're going to do a little something here in just a second. Then you're going to take your back half and you're going to turn it upside down on the compressor. You're going to take this washer. I still use my little spacer, whatever we may send you. Sometimes we send old rollers, square pucks, actual washers, but anything plastic we send you with a compressor is to be used as a washer. I think we still do those little old square pucks, all right? This is gonna be a 5/8. I'm gonna use an impact. You can certainly use a wrench. Okay, we're going to take our bolts out. I can feel that spring underneath there. Now, take that pressure off that spring. All right, take our half off. Take this little spring cup, set it to the side, the helix, and the factory spring. Boy, that's a stout one. All right. Then we're going to take our new helix. In the past, there are X's that mark these helices for them. It is not. It's balanced and the clutch is balanced. Okay? We're going to take this and we're going to put it right back on. Then we're going to take our spring compressor and compress it right back. All right, get your helix under the bolt holes. Come on down. Don't go all the way down, get them pretty close, and then get your bolt started back. Okay, you're going to use a little blue Loctite on these.
Get them started with your finger.
Then I still like to use my impact here. All right, and let's go all the way down.
Okay, we're good now.
Only run them down till they made contact and get your torque wrench out. All right, according to Dalton, with 32 pounds on these, and you want to tighten that secondary down good so it don't move. All right, there's one. Two. And three. Okay. All right, you can take that off. All right, now would be a good time to take that same Scotch-Brite pad and brake clean. Again, mine's pretty dang new, so I am simply going to wipe it off and get that belt surface cleaned up, and don't touch that part with your fingers again. Now, you could just be setting the outside half on. I say now is a good time to buy some Hunterworks rollers. And all you have to do is take anything, I use my handy knife, and pop the OEM off, and then slide some of Hunterworks rollers right on. Again, this is optional, not required. Just a good idea because the factory ones have been known to be problematic. You're going to have some of our magic fairy dust that comes on our rollers on your fingers. You probably got it on your clutch. And I would wipe that down like we did the other side. Then at that point, these clutches are balanced. So again, the position does not matter as long as we get our roller in a slot. And that concludes clutch kit install. Put them back on the vehicle per our other videos for removing and replacing primary and secondary clutches, and go test. Again, read these instructions. It talks about shift phase RPM. We got videos on that. But any question you got, Todd at Hunterworks.com. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and try our belt on this particular model. You're going to love it. Thank you.